Tears of the Kingdom brought a host of new abilities for our favourite Short King Link.
Check it!
Completely replacing those he had access to in Breath of the Wild. Obviously, Ultra Hand and Auto Build fundamentally changed some of the moment-to-moment gameplay to the point many of the game's overworld puzzles, shrines, and dungeons rely on it to some degree, and judging by the huge amount of content out there, provides the foundations for creativity orders of magnitude greater than any past Zelda game. These incredible tools were the Tears of the Kingdom poster child for a reason. People aren't wrong to focus on it, but there's something else working in the background to facilitate many of the improvements which make Tears of the Kingdom such a fun game, and that is Ascend. I feel like some are passing off Ascend as the new Cryonis, the non-essential, kind of niche movement ability which gets less use than the others. I honestly think that is a gross underestimation of Ascend. Yes, on the surface it's a less dramatic ability than the one which lets you create a flying machine and crash it into the nearest moblin camp, but I believe it solves game design problems found in Breath of the Wild in an extremely intelligent way. So clever, in fact, you probably didn't even notice it. So it's time to celebrate the secret genius of Ascend. First, we need to identify the problem, which I think Ascend does a brilliant job of solving. Breath of the Wild introduced a revolutionary amount of freedom to Zelda, and one of the most praised parts of the game is how it encourages you to move around and how far the overworld becomes a joy to navigate because of the tools it gives you. In most games, cliffs are an impassable annoyance, a hard boundary, or something you have to cheese your way up. Shout out Skyrim horses. Breath of the Wild turns that negative and restricting experience into a positive, empowering one. By using your resources, stamina, cliffs are a little challenge, allowing you to access a new area, gain a useful vantage point, or use the elevation to cover a lot of ground quickly with the glider. None of that requires finding the specific mountain path or praying to Talos that your horse's four-wheel drive mode is working that day. Overworld movement has a consistent flow to it, where you have a surprising freedom to move in any direction you like, apart from when it rains, but we'll forget about that. In my eyes, that is such a triumph of game design. We're given a set of tools and taught very quickly that we can use them, gliding and climbing specifically, to very effectively navigate the world in a fun way, with a mix of challenge and payoff which ensures we're always making progress. That is, of course, until this happens. This is a roof. Breath of the Wild's fun movement tools inadvertently create an environment where going inside is annoying because it takes those fun movement tools away. Gliding is very restricted, and climbing can be actively annoying in tighter environments. If you've ever had Link accidentally start clambering up furniture like he's just discovered bouldering, you'll know what I mean. Unfortunately, it isn't exclusively an indoor problem. The same happens in the overworld wherever you see an overhang. You quickly learn that overhangs do turn fun climbable cliffs into impassable obstacles. This is officially the no fun allowed shape in Breath of the Wild. By the end of the game, you fear this formation, and while there are occasional areas where that restriction gives you an interesting challenge, like navigating this cavern full of icy water to get to this shrine, most of the time it just represents a barrier to your free exploration. Ascend is the smartest fundamental solution to this player freedom problem. Breath of the Wild teaches you that something above you means a reduction in the utility of your toolkit. In Tears of the Kingdom, having a surface above you unlocks a specific movement tool, not just to navigate it, but to do so even faster than climbing. And, unlike using Zonai devices, has no resource cost. In other words, the roof used to take away your power, now it gives you more. I think part of the reason many found the Divine Beast dungeons less fun than other parts of the game is for a similar reason. For a significant period of time, your funnest tools, which are the key to your freedom and player agency, become extremely restricted. Again, Ascend gives you movement tools in these sorts of scenarios, and sure enough, it's used in every dungeon.
See you, chump.
The more enclosed the space, the more restricted the rest of your toolkit becomes, the more Ascend gives you an option to navigate the world. Even the Fire Temple, which is full of super high ceilings, has a variety of spots where creative players can cheese their way up to the top. Those kinds of unintended solutions are super satisfying to players, and Ascend only enables that to happen more often. You might have already thought about this though. Yes, Ascend good because you can go upwards. Big deal. Rockets can do that too, and they don't involve me getting a mouthful of soil every time. However, I also think it facilitates several other changes to the game which people are praising, and circumvents issues of previous open-world RPGs, one of which I'm going to refer to as the Skyrim problem. Every Skyrim cave is essentially designed in the same looping structure to make player travel more efficient, and to reduce the frustrating experience of backpacking through a huge long passage of dead bandits and skeletons once you get to the end and loot your cool mask or big sword. That helps to keep players more engaged by reducing downtime and the distance you have to haul your sack full of iron plate bodies to the nearest unsuspecting merchant. The problem is once you realise every single cave conveniently goes round in a circle and has you open a locked door or jump down a step to go neatly back to the entrance, you feel like the game has put you in a nice little creche so you can play with all its toys without getting sad and upset. Ascend solves this problem brilliantly. Caves can be any shape designers like because the player can just leave by hitting the eject button and smushing themselves through the ceiling. The weirder the cave, the deader the dead end, the more satisfying it is to Phelps your way through solid rock. You feel like you're solving a problem by circumnavigating the run back through the cave by using this tool the game gives you. Many have already spoken about how Tears of the Kingdom keeps you constantly discovering new things, but few have articulated that the relationship between caves and Ascend is a beautifully subtle part of that. You find the cave, you explore the cave, and the second you're done you can be in an unexplored area above you immediately. Genius. The existence of caves at all, of course, is new for Tears of the Kingdom, and in my mind the ability and environment go together too neatly for them not to have been conceived together. It is the perfect post-cave action. Caves are quite significant environments, but Ascend also facilitates those moments where very small areas like wells or ruined buildings have something cool and fun inside. In Breath of the Wild, in fact in most games, these would be a bit annoying when you inevitably have to climb out somehow, but Tears of the Kingdom makes it a complete non-issue. Collectively, big interiors and small ones contribute to the greater world density which others have praised. Breath of the Wild wants to lay everything out relatively flat, show you exactly what you can explore to maximise that sense of freedom. Ascend means Tears of the Kingdom benefits from hiding little bonuses and areas away, because the penalty for ending up in a weird little crevice somewhere, where not even Zonite tools can help you, is basically zero. I have never played a game where I've wanted to dive down a well as much as Tears of the Kingdom, because every other game makes me climb a tedious ladder, like there's a little cost to my fun. Tears of the Kingdom makes them just as fun as any other part of the game, and you don't even notice that Ascend has a big role to play in it. That's the mark of a fantastic bit of game design, sitting in the background, enabling your fun. The other thing which makes Ascend so clever is how it interacts with other systems of the game. You could argue 4 big gameplay pillars in Tears of the Kingdom are exploration, quests, puzzles, and combat, and maybe crafting if you do anything more sophisticated than stuffing whatever's in your pockets into a big pot and seeing what happens. We've covered exploration, but quests, puzzles, and combat all benefit from this ability too. I think it's pretty cool that using Ascend directly relates to several quests in the game. In several scenarios you need to enter locked areas, and coming up from below solves that problem. This isn't just an extrapolated lock and key puzzle, but a free-form exploration of your ability, where it's up to you to discover there's an area underneath the place you need to reach, mark it on the map, line yourself up, and find the solution. You feel like you progress the quest because of you thinking to use this ability, and that feels pretty good. There are also plenty of shrine puzzles where Ascend is utilised to varying degrees. In some cases it's a quick, useful way of moving around. Sometimes it's a necessary method of progressing. Sometimes your use of Ascend is the solution to the puzzle itself, like in this shrine where you create a solid path to ascend through. These different levels of utility present Ascend as a dynamic ability, not one with a specific fixed use, despite on paper doing a very prescriptive thing, moving vertically upwards through terrain. Compare this to Cryonis in Breath of the Wild, the equivalent niche movement ability. The few occasions it was useful in solving puzzles, it tended to be in one of very few specific ways, with limited scope for creativity. Ascend even gives Link more freedom with respect to combat. Moving through the floor has a time-stopping ability, and you can quickly see how useful that can be where enemies are involved. On several occasions in my playthrough I used this as an eject button in caves when things got sketchy, allowing me to instantly leave and reapproach rather than stuffing 20 apples into my mouth one frame before I eat a horriblin spear to the face. Of course, you can also use this aggressively, which commentators and Let's Players have been quick to notice. Sneaking underneath platforms or settlements and popping up gives you an immediate terrain advantage, sneak strike opportunity, or access to fun goodies like bombs you'd normally need to fight your way to. Consider it a stealthier and more calculated alternative to the updraft and glider combo, made all the more useful by the removal of Rivali's Gale. It turns these slightly annoying platform environments, which of course you can't easily climb, into fun ones where you can move extremely efficiently.
Hello there.
I also cannot ignore the incredible aha moment you get when you put 2 and 2 together that ascending through stone means you can ascend through stone taluses, and taking a risky route through its legs rewards you with a free shot at its juicy weak spot. I think it's really cool where a movement ability directly becomes a combat maneuver to further give unique interaction with specific enemies like this. So I think Ascend interacts with these pillars extremely well, even if in some situations they're providing the setup rather than the explosive payoff itself. It's also worth noting how it directly complements not just these macro game pillars, but the individual tools Link has access to. Zonai devices are one of those. Creating platforms and ascending through them is a really cool way of approaching areas which might be difficult to climb. Ascend can augment your sloppy flying if you crash into the underside of a sky island, turning a frustrating moment into a potentially incredibly satisfying one as you clutch fix your mistake. Multiple shrine puzzles have you using Ultra Hand or Rewind in combination with Ascend to complete. Even just climbing around normally, there's something oddly satisfying about finding that one pixel of cliff mid-climb that sticks out enough to ascend through it and save you some time. Collectively, those interactions make Ascend feel like a natural and integrated part of Link's toolkit, and whilst being less flashy than the others, still allow for creativity and contribute positively to how fun it is to move through the world. So while no one is talking about Ascend right now, I do think long term it'll become an essential part of the Tears of the Kingdom conversation, and included in case studies of great game design which solves player problems, in some cases problems they didn't even know they had. In time, I hope more people realise how Ascend drives the change to the world of Tears of the Kingdom for the better. Really hope you enjoyed considering this little ability with me. I'd love to hear your experiences with it and if you feel the same way as me, or if this video helped you think differently about this ability. I've not really made a video like this before, so it'd really mean a lot if you gave the video a like to let me know you enjoyed hearing me talk about video games, and subscribing is the best way to show you'd like to see something like this again. That's all for this one though. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.